The Echo of Blackwood Manor. 2150 words. Start with slow, ominous, and melancholic piano music. The screen is black. There are places in this world that are left to die. Not with the clamor of demolition, but with the slow, silent decay of memory. They are forgotten by maps and forsaken by time, holding their breath as the world moves on around them. Blackwood Manor was one such place. It stood on a hill overlooking the town of Havenwood, a skeletal silhouette against the perpetual gray of the coastal sky. For 70 years, it had been a local legend, a cautionary tale whispered to children. When I, Arthur Vance, a historian with more curiosity than common sense, purchased it for a sum that was frankly insulting to its grandeur, the townsfolk looked at me with a mixture of pity and fear. They spoke of a curse, of a family torn apart within its walls. I, of course, dismissed it all as rural superstition. For me, this was not a tomb, it was a time capsule. The air that greeted me was thick and heavy, a cocktail of dust, damp, and something else, something faintly sweet, like old, dried flowers. The foyer was a mausoleum of forgotten wealth. Furniture lay shrouded in white cloths, like a congregation of ghosts. Sunlight struggled through the grimy stained glass window on the grand staircase, painting the dust motes in ethereal, shifting colors. My first week was spent in blissful, scholarly pursuit. I charted the house's decay, catalogued the library's rotting books, and traced the lineage of the Blackwood family. The original owner, Silas Blackwood, was a shipping magnate from the late 19th century, a man known for his ruthless ambition and, later, his crushing grief. His wife died in childbirth, leaving him with a single, doted-upon daughter, Elara. It was her death, at the tender age of 10 from a sudden illness, that broke him. The records after that point became sparse, filled with rumors of his descent into occultism and madness. He died alone in the house, and it had remained empty ever since. The first sign that I was not alone came on a Tuesday night. I was in my makeshift office, poring over old blueprints, when a sound drifted down from the upper floor. It was a faint, delicate melody, a simple tune from a music box. My heart hammered against my ribs. The house was supposed to be silent. I grabbed a flashlight and ascended the grand staircase, each creaking step amplifying the silence between the notes. The music led me to what must have been Elara's room. In the beam of my flashlight, I saw it, a small, tarnished silver music box sitting on a dusty dressing table. As I approached, the music sputtered and died, plunging the room back into a profound silence. I touched the cold metal, my mind racing for a rational explanation. A draft? The house settling? But I knew, with a certainty that chilled me to the bone, that the lid had been closed. That night, sleep offered no escape. I dreamt of a little girl in a white dress, humming the same tune. She wasn't frightening. She was just there, a sad, fleeting presence in the periphery of my dreams. I woke up with the melody still echoing in my head. The strange occurrences began to weave themselves into the fabric of my days. Doors I had firmly closed would be found ajar. A faint scent of roses, Elara's favorite flower according to the town's lore, would hang in a room for a moment before vanishing. Sometimes, in the dead of night, I would hear the soft patter of small feet, a sound that always seemed to be just one room away, no matter how fast I followed. My academic curiosity morphed into a desperate obsession. I stopped restoring the house and started investigating it. In a loose floorboard in Elara's room, I found her diary. The early entries were filled with the simple joys of a child's life. But the tone shifted in the final weeks. She wrote of her father's growing strangeness, of the new friends he brought to the house, men in dark robes who whispered in a language she didn't understand. She wrote of nightmares, of a growing coldness in the house, and of a promise her father made to her, that she would never, ever have to leave him. The town. Library's archives filled in the horrifying gaps. I found old newspaper clippings, sensationalist articles about Silas Blackwood's unholy experiments. He had become convinced that he could conquer death, that he could bind his daughter's spirit to the place she loved most. He didn't just mourn her, he tried to imprison her. The curse the townsfolk spoke of wasn't about a malevolent ghost. It was about a heartbroken child, trapped in an eternal, lonely echo of her life. The house seemed to feel my discovery. Its energy changed. The subtle whispers became clearer, forming a single, pleading word, cold. The gentle scent of roses was replaced by the metallic tang of fear. I started seeing her more clearly now, not just as a fleeting shape, but as a translucent, sorrowful figure at the end of a long hallway, her form shimmering like heat haze. She was always pointing towards the one part of the house I had yet to explore, the sealed, iron-banded door in the cellar. An irrational, primal fear had kept me from it, but now, I knew I had no choice. Armed with a crowbar and a growing sense of dread, I went down into the damp, musty darkness. The iron bands on the door were rusted but strong. It took me the better part of an hour, my grunts and the shriek of protesting metal the only sounds. When the door finally burst open, a wave of unnatural cold washed over me, extinguishing my lantern and plunging me into absolute blackness. I fumbled for my flashlight, my hands shaking, and switched it on. The beam cut through the darkness to reveal a scene of pure, calculated madness. The floor was dominated by a complex ritual circle, carved directly into the stone. Strange, unsettling symbols glowed with a faint, sickly green light. And in the center, resting on a stone pedestal, was Silas Blackwood's journal. With trembling fingers, I picked it up. The pages were filled with his dissent. He wrote of a ritual, a terrible bargain to anchor Ilara's soul to the manor. He believed it was an act of love, a way to ensure she would never be alone. But the final entry was one of stark, raving terror. He had succeeded, but not in the way he'd intended. He hadn't just bound her spirit, he had bound her fear, her pain, and her final, agonizing moments into the very wood and stone of the house. He hadn't created a home for her ghost, he had created a prison for her echo. As I read the final words, she appeared before me. Ilara. No longer a fleeting glimpse, but a solid, shimmering presence. Her eyes were wide with a terror that had not faded in 70 years. She wasn't looking at me. She was looking past me, at a dark corner of the cellar. A new presence entered the room, a thing of pure cold and shadow. It had no form, no features, but the weight of its ancient malice was suffocating. It was the curse itself. The lingering, possessive will of Silas Blackwood. The shadow thing surged forward. The journal flew from my hands. The ritual symbols on the floor flared, their green light casting monstrous shadows on the walls. Ilara's silent scream filled my mind, a wave of pure, undiluted agony. I understood then. The house wasn't trying to scare me away. It was trying to absorb me, to make my fear another layer of its eternal pain, another voice in its chorus of despair. I had to break the anchor. I scrambled for the journal, my fingers closing around the brittle leather. The shadow was on me, its touch a soul-deep cold that burned. I lunged for the center of the circle, holding the book aloft. Let her go! I screamed, not at the shadow, but at the house itself. I threw the journal into the very center of the pedestal where I had found it. For a moment, everything happened at once. The journal erupted in an unholy, green flame. The symbols on the floor pulsed violently and then, one by one, went dark. A terrible, guttural roar echoed from the walls, a sound of pure rage and loss, before fading into nothing. The oppressive cold vanished, replaced by the simple, damp chill of the cellar. And there, in the sudden, peaceful silence, stood Ilara. The terror was gone from her eyes, replaced with a look of quiet gratitude. She gave me a small, sad smile, a gesture of a child finally allowed to rest. Then, she faded, not like a ghost, but like smoke caught in a sunbeam, leaving nothing behind but the scent of old roses and the profound silence of a curse finally broken. I left Havenwood the next day. The house still stands on the hill, but the locals say the oppressive aura around it is gone. It is just a house now. Empty, silent, and finally, at peace. I never went back. Some stories, once you have read their final, terrifying chapter, are best left closed forever. Fade to black. The melancholic piano music returns for a few moments before fading out completely.